Muhammad Ali walks into a Louisville restaurant on a Tuesday afternoon with an Olympic gold medal hanging around his neck. September 1960. He's 18 years old, fresh off the plane from Rome. The whole city knows his name. Newspapers called him a hero. Radio stations played his interviews. White Louisville and Black Louisville, for once, celebrated the same person. What happens in the next 15 minutes doesn't just shatter that illusion. It changes the trajectory of his entire life, changes what he believes about his country, his city, his place in the world, changes him from Cassius Clay, proud American Olympic champion, into something different, something harder, something that will eventually become Muhammad Ali. Louisville, Kentucky, 4th Street, Tuesday, September 12, 1960, 2:47 p.m. The afternoon sun cuts through downtown Louisville, at that angle where everything looks both beautiful and harsh. Light bouncing off storefronts, shadows sharp as knives on the sidewalk. The air carries that early September heaviness. Still summer hot, but with the first whispers of autumn underneath. Humidity you can taste. Sweet tobacco smell drifting from the warehouses near the river. Car exhaust. Fresh bread from the bakery 2 blocks down. 4th Street is Louisville's main artery, where business happens, where white Louisville shops, eats, conducts its affairs. The buildings are old Louisville architecture, brick and limestone, built in the 1920s when this city had money and ambition. 3-story structures with detailed cornices, big plate glass windows, gold lettering announcing law offices, insurance companies, investment firms. The restaurant sits on the corner, prime real estate, called the Colonial Inn. White tablecloths visible through the windows, dark wood interior, brass fixtures, the kind of place that serves steaks, bourbon, confidence, where businessmen close deals over lunch, where Louisville's white establishment gathers, where Cassius Clay, Olympic gold medalist, walks in hungry. He's wearing gray slacks, white shirt, red, white, and blue Olympic team jacket. Clean, pressed, respectable. The jacket still has the official patches, USA, Rome, 1960. His name embroidered above the left breast pocket, and around his neck, hanging from a red, white, and blue ribbon, catching the afternoon light, like a small sun. The Olympic gold medal. He wears it everywhere. Been wearing it for 3 days straight, since landing back in America. Wore it on the plane. Wore it meeting the mayor. Wore it walking down Walnut Street, where Black Louisville lives. Wore it sleeping the first night back. By Louisville standards, he looks like a champion. By America's standards, he looks like a hero. But as he pushes through that door, reaching for the brass handle polished by 1,000 white hands, something else is about to become clear. Something 18-year-old Cassius Clay isn't quite ready to understand yet. Cassius Clay enters the Colonial Inn. The door closes behind him with a soft click. A small bell chimes, announces his arrival. The restaurant isn't crowded. Tuesday afternoon lull. Maybe 15 people scattered across 20 tables. Mostly businessmen. A few couples. Everyone white. Conversations happening in low tones. The soft clink of silverware on china. The smell of grilled steak, fresh coffee. Cigarette smoke lingering in the air despite the no-smoking section. Behind the host stand, a young white woman looks up. Maybe 22 years old. Blonde hair pulled back, wearing the restaurant's uniform. Black dress, white collar, small name tag that says Jennifer. Her eyes go to Cassius, then to the medal, then back to his face. She doesn't smile. Cassius does. That Cassius Clay smile. Wide, confident. The smile that charmed reporters in Rome. The smile that lit up newsreels, genuine warmth behind it. He's happy. Proud. Home. He says, "Table for one, please." His voice carries, not loud, just naturally projecting. The voice that will one day announce, "I am the greatest," to the world. Right now it just announces hunger and the reasonable expectation of service. Jennifer's mouth opens slightly, closes, opens again. She says quietly, "Sir, I—" A man stands from a table near the window. Been watching since the door opened. He's in his mid-40s. Gray suit, well-tailored. Probably cost more than most Louisville families make in a month. Hair slicked back, clean-shaven. Expensive watch catching the light. Wedding ring, tie clip. The uniform of Louisville business success. His name is Robert Williamson. He owns a tobacco warehouse. Third-generation Louisville money. Sits on the Chamber of Commerce. Member of the Pendennis Club. His family has owned property in Louisville since before the Civil War. Some of that property included people. His grandfather fought for the Confederacy. There's a portrait in his home office. He's proud of that heritage. By every metric white Louisville uses to measure success, he's accomplished. Respected. Influential. In his world, those things define what being a man means. He looks at Cassius Clay, sees a young black man wearing an Olympic jacket and a gold medal, sees someone who doesn't understand his place, sees someone who needs to be reminded. He walks toward the entrance. His shoes click on the hardwood floor. Expensive leather. Italian. Each step measured. Confident. Other diners are watching now. Conversations have gone quiet. Everyone's sensing something happening. The air in the restaurant changes, gets denser. Anticipation building. Cassius is still smiling, still waiting for Jennifer to seat him. Still believing his Olympic gold medal means something here. Still thinking that representing America in Rome, winning gold for this country, standing on that podium while the national anthem played, still thinking that changed things. Still thinking he's a champion. Still thinking Louisville will treat him like one. Robert Williamson reaches the host stand, stands next to Jennifer, looks at Cassius. His face shows polite curiosity, the kind of expression people use when they're about to deliver bad news, but want to seem reasonable about it. He says, "Can we help you, boy?" The word boy hangs in the air. Sharp, deliberate, unmistakable. Cassius's smile falters slightly. Just for a second. Then returns. He's choosing to give the benefit of doubt. Choosing to believe this is a misunderstanding. He says, "Yes, sir. Just looking for a table. Lunch." He touches the medal. Not dramatically. Just naturally. A small gesture that says, "You see this, right? You know who I am, right?" Robert sees it. Everyone sees it. Robert Williamson looks at the medal for a long moment. Then he says, "That's real nice. Really. We're all proud you won that for America." Cassius's smile widens, relief visible on his face. He says, "Thank you, sir. Means a lot, representing Louisville in Rome, that was." Robert interrupts. "But we don't serve coloreds here." The words land like a physical blow. Cassius stops mid-sentence. His smile disappears, not gradually, instantly, like someone flipped a switch. He says, "I'm sorry." Robert's tone stays polite, conversational, like he's explaining a simple fact. "This is a private establishment. We have the right to refuse service, and we don't serve coloreds. There's places on Walnut Street, down in your part of town. They'll take care of you there." Cassius stands completely still. The restaurant is dead silent now. Every person watching, some looking away, uncomfortable. Some watching openly, curious how this plays out. A few nodding slightly, agreeing with Robert, supporting the natural order being maintained. Jennifer, behind the host stand, looks at her hands, doesn't make eye contact with anyone. Cassius says slowly, "I just won a gold medal for this country." Robert nods. "And that's real impressive, truly, but it doesn't change our policy. I represented America in Rome, and we appreciate that." I stood on a podium with the American flag behind me, with the national anthem playing, representing this city, this country. Like I said, we're all real proud. Cassius's voice gets quieter, not weaker, more controlled. But you won't serve me lunch. Robert shrugs, small gesture, casual. It's not personal, it's just how things are. Cassius looks around the restaurant, at the white faces watching him, at the white tablecloths, the white walls, the white waitresses, the white customers. The white city he thought was his home. He looks back at Robert, says, I'm an Olympic champion. Robert says, and you're a colored boy in Louisville, Kentucky. One doesn't change the other. Something shifts in Cassius's expression. Something hardens. The softness of youth, the optimism, the belief in fairness, starting to crack. He says, so the medal means nothing here. It means you're a good boxer. Means you made Louisville look good on the world stage. We appreciate that, but it doesn't mean you eat here. An older man at a nearby table speaks up, says to Cassius, boy, you're making a scene. Just go on now. There's places for your kind. Cassius turns to him. My kind? You know what I mean. Say it clearly. The man's jaw tightens. Coloreds, Negroes, your people. You got your part of town, we got ours. That's just how it is. How it's always been. Parenthetical. A younger businessman, maybe early 30s, says, he's right. You're embarrassing yourself. You won a medal. That's great. But it doesn't change the rules. You think winning a boxing match in Europe makes you equal to us? Cassius looks at him. I think representing America should mean something. The younger man laughs, not friendly, mocking. Representing America? Son, you were borrowed for a few weeks to make us look good internationally. To show the Soviets we let our coloreds compete. But that was over there. This is here. This is real life. And in real life, you're still what you've always been. Robert puts his hand on Cassius's shoulder, patronizing, like calming a child. He says, look, you seem like a good kid, polite, well-spoken, not like some of them, and that medal is impressive. But you need to understand something. That gold medal, that American flag, that national anthem, that was all politics. International theater. Making America look good to the world. But here, in Louisville, in this restaurant, that doesn't change anything. You're still a Negro, and Negroes don't eat here. Cassius looks at the hand on his shoulder. Robert's hand. White, manicured, wearing a college ring. Cassius says quietly, take your hand off me. Robert's expression changes. The polite veneer cracks slightly. His voice gets colder. Excuse me? Take your hand off me. They lock eyes. The restaurant holds its breath. Robert slowly removes his hand. Says, you getting uppity now? I'm getting tired of being disrespected in my own city. Your city? Robert laughs. Boy, this ain't your city. This is our city. Always has been. You just live here. There's a difference. Cassius' hands curl into fists at his sides. Not threatening. Just tension, frustration, anger, hurt. All of it coiling in his 18-year-old body. All of it looking for somewhere to go. Robert sees it. Says, you gonna hit me? Olympic champion gonna assault a white man in downtown Louisville? That how you want this to go? The threat is clear, implicit but unmistakable. Hit me, and it doesn't matter what you won in Rome. Hit me, and you're just another Negro who attacked a white man. Hit me, and Louisville will destroy you. Cassius understands. You can see it in his eyes. The trap, the system, the reality that his fists, fast as they are, powerful as they are, Olympic gold as they are, can't punch through this. He says, voice barely above a whisper, I fought for this country. Robert says, and we said thank you. Now, move along. I won gold for America. And America's grateful, but gratitude has limits. Cassius looks down at the medal.
the gold catching the restaurant light, the ribbon, red, white, and blue, the engraving.
Rome, 1960.
Boxing, gold medal, his name.
His achievement. His proof. Worthless here. He looks up. Not at Robert, at Jennifer, the young hostess who hasn't said a word, who's been standing there watching this entire exchange. He says to her, "Is this how it is?" She won't meet his eyes. Says nothing. He says, "I'm 18 years old. I just did something most people only dream about. I won for America, for Louisville, for everyone, and I can't eat lunch in my own city." Jennifer finally looks at him. There's something in her expression. Not sympathy exactly. Maybe pity. Maybe discomfort. Maybe just the recognition of reality. She says softly, "I'm sorry, but yes, that's how it is." Cassius Clay stands in the doorway of the Colonial Inn. Gold medal around his neck. Olympic champion. American hero. Not allowed to eat lunch. The moment stretches, seconds feeling like hours. The entire restaurant watching, waiting to see what happens next. Waiting to see if this young black man will accept reality, or if he'll make this harder than it needs to be. Robert Williamson crosses his arms, says, "We done here?" Cassius doesn't move. Something is happening behind his eyes. You can see it. A shift. A transformation. The death of one belief system. The birth of something else. He says, "You know what's interesting?" Robert's eyebrows raise. "What's that?" In Rome, nobody cared what color I was. Nobody. Russian fighters shook my hand. Italian fighters hugged me. Polish, German, French, British. Everyone treated me like an athlete, like a competitor, like a man. That's Europe. Different culture. I ate in restaurants. Any restaurant I wanted. Nobody stopped me. Nobody said there's a section for me. Nobody called me boy. Europe's got their own problems. I stayed in hotels, nice hotels, walked through the front door, same door as everyone else. Good for you. White women smiled at me, not afraid, not disgusted, just smiled, like I was human. Robert's jaw tightens. That kind of talk'll get you in trouble here. Cassius continues like he didn't hear him. I stood on a podium with the American flag behind me, national anthem playing, and I was so proud to be American, to represent this country, to show the world what America can do. As you should be. I thought, Cassius's voice catches slightly. I thought winning gold would change things. Ought maybe if I made America proud, if I showed the world what I could do, maybe when I came home, things would be different. Nothing's changed. Nothing's gonna change. That's what's interesting. Cassius looks directly at Robert. You're telling me the truth. Maybe for the first time since I got back, someone's telling me the absolute truth. Not the newspaper version. Not the mayor's speech version. Not the "we're so proud of you" version. The real version. Robert says, the real version is you're a colored boy in Kentucky. And that medal doesn't change it. Not here. Not anywhere that matters. Cassius nods slowly. So when the cameras are on, when the world is watching, I'm an American hero. But when the cameras turn off, when it's just Louisville being Louisville, I'm just another Negro who needs to know his place. Now you're getting it. And if I'd lost in Rome, if I'd come back without the gold, you'd still be a colored boy. Just without the medal. And if I'd died in Rome, representing America, Robert shrugs, would have been a tragedy. We'd have mourned, probably named something after you, but you'd still have been buried in the colored cemetery. The words hang in the air like poison. Cassius says, "You know what the real tragedy is?" "What's that?" I believed it. I really believed that America meant what it said. All men created equal. Liberty and justice for all. I believed that if I worked hard enough, if I was good enough, if I made America proud enough, I'd be treated like a man. That's the problem with you people, always believing things that ain't true. But it should be true. That's what America says it is. That's what we tell the world. And the world believes it. That's what matters. Cassius looks around the restaurant again, at every white face, every person who's been watching this exchange. Some uncomfortable, some annoyed, some openly hostile, but none disagreeing with Robert. He says nobody here thinks this is wrong. Silence. He says louder, nobody, not one person thinks it's wrong that an Olympic champion can't eat lunch in his own city. More silence. A middle-aged woman in a blue dress says quietly, "It's not about right or wrong. It's about order. Society needs order." Cassius says, "Order? That's what you call this?" "Yes. Everyone has their place. You have yours. We have ours. That's order. And my place is knowing I'm not welcome here. Your place is Walnut Street. Your neighborhood. Your people. You've got restaurants there. You've got everything you need there. Everything except equality." The woman's expression hardens. "You want to be equal to us? After everything? After we built this city? After we created this civilization? You think winning a boxing match makes you equal?" Cassius says, "I think being human makes me equal." Robert laughs. Being human, that's rich. Something changes in Cassius's posture. The hurt is still there. The anger is still there. But something else is emerging. Something harder. Something that will eventually become the Muhammad Ali the world knows. He says, "You're right about one thing." "What's that?" "The medal doesn't matter. Not here. Not to you. Nothing I do will ever matter to you. I could win every gold medal in every Olympics for the rest of my life. I could save your life. I could cure cancer. I could walk on water, and I'd still be just a Negro who needs to know his place. Now you're learning. So why try? Why be respectable? Why work within your system? Why believe your promises?" Robert's expression changes slightly. A hint of concern. "You better watch that kind of talk." "Why? What are you gonna do?" "Not serve me lunch?" Cassius gestures around. "Already there. What else you got? Not treat me like a man? Already there. Not respect my accomplishments? Already there. You're playing a dangerous game. No, you played a dangerous game. You took an 18-year-old kid who believed in America, who loved this country, who was proud to represent it, who thought winning gold meant something. And you just showed him it meant nothing. You showed him the truth. The truth is the truth. Yeah, it is, and now I know it." Cassius reaches up and touches the medal, for the last time as someone who believes it matters. His fingers trace the gold surface, the engraving, the proof of his achievement. He says quietly, "I wore this for 3 days straight, slept in it, thought it was the most important thing I'd ever own, thought it changed who I am, what I could become." He looks at Robert, "But it's just metal, isn't it? Just a piece of gold on a ribbon. Doesn't change anything. Doesn't mean anything. Not here." Robert says, finally making sense. Cassius's hand closes around the medal. His jaw sets. Something definitive happening in his mind. A decision being made. A line being crossed. He says, "Thank you." Robert blinks. "What?" "Thank you for teaching me something important. For showing me who you really are, who this city really is, who this country really is. I don't need your thanks." "No, but I needed this. Needed to see it clearly. Needed to stop believing the lies. Needed to wake up." Cassius turns toward the door, puts his hand on the brass handle. The same handle he touched 5 minutes ago as an optimistic 18-year-old champion. The same handle he's touching now, as something else, something harder. He pauses, looks back at Robert one more time, says, "You think you won today? You think you put me in my place? Taught me the lesson I needed to learn." Pause. "I did. Maybe. But you also created something. Something you're gonna regret." "That a threat?" Pause. "No. A promise. Not to hurt you. Nothing like that. But you just created someone who's not gonna play by your rules anymore. Someone who's not gonna be grateful. Someone who's not gonna be respectable. Someone who's not gonna stay in his place. We'll see about that." "Yeah." Cassius opens the door. "We will." Inside the Colonial Inn, Robert returns to his table. The restaurant slowly returns to normal. Conversations resume. Orders are taken. Life goes on. For them, this was just Tuesday. Just maintaining order. Just keeping things the way they've always been. For Cassius Clay, this was the end of something. And the beginning of something else. Cassius Clay walks down 4th Street. The gold medal still around his neck. But he's not touching it anymore. Not looking at it. Not thinking about it. He walks past storefronts. Past businesses. Past the Louisville he thought was his home. The September sun still bright. The humidity still heavy. Everything physically the same as it was 30 minutes ago. But everything different. He walks for blocks. Not going anywhere specific. Just walking. Processing. The conversations with reporters at the airport replay in his mind. How does it feel to be an American hero? The mayor's speech. "Louisville is proud of you." The newspaper headlines. "Local boy makes good." All of it lies. Not intentional lies maybe, but lies nonetheless. Conditional pride. Temporary respect. Borrowed humanity. He reaches Walnut Street. The boundary, where white Louisville ends and black Louisville begins. Where he's allowed. Where he's welcome. Where he's always been supposed to stay. He walks into a small diner. Johnson's place. He's been coming here since he was 12. Mrs. Johnson has known him since before he started boxing. Before the Olympics. Before any of this. The diner is small. 10 tables. Counter with 6 stools. Linoleum floor worn down from decades of foot traffic. The smell of fried chicken, collard greens, cornbread. Soul food. Home. Mrs. Johnson looks up from behind the counter. She's 60-something. Gray hair pulled back. Apron stained from a day's work. Kind eyes. Tired eyes. Eyes that have seen too much. She sees Cassius. Sees his face. Sees something broken there. Says, "Baby, what happened?" Cassius sits at the counter. Says nothing for a moment. Mrs. Johnson comes around. Stands in front of him. Waits. Finally, Cassius says, "I went to the Colonial Inn." Mrs. Johnson's expression changes. Not surprise. Something sadder. Recognition. She says softly, "Oh, baby. Thought maybe, with the medal, thought maybe things were different. I know. They said," his voice catches. "They said it didn't matter. The medal, Rome, representing America, none of it mattered." Mrs. Johnson nods. "I'm sorry you had to learn that way. Why didn't someone tell me? Why did everyone let me think things had changed? Because that hope, that belief, it's precious. It's what keeps you going. What keeps you fighting. Once you lose it." She trails off. "Once you lose it, what? Once you lose it, you have to decide what kind of man you're gonna be. Broken or angry, defeated or determined." Cassius looks at the medal. "What's this worth? If it can't buy me respect in my own city, what's it worth? It's worth what you make it worth, not what they tell you it's worth. They told me it's worthless. They're wrong. They seem pretty sure." Mrs. Johnson sits on the stool next to him. "Listen to me. That medal proves something, not to them, to you. It proves you're exceptional.
It proves you worked harder than anyone. It proves you beat everyone they put in front of you. That's not worthless.
But it doesn't change anything here. Not yet. But maybe that's not the point.
What is the point?
The point is you can't win playing their game. You can't be respectable enough, successful enough, exceptional enough to make them see you as equal. Because it's not about you. It's about them. About their need to feel superior. About their fear of what happens if you really are equal. Cassius says, so what do I do? You change the game. You stop asking for their approval, seeking their validation. Stop believing their definitions of success matter. And do what? Define yourself, on your terms, in your way. Be so undeniably great they can't ignore you. But more importantly, be so authentically yourself they can't control you. Cassius sits with that for a moment. Mrs. Johnson says, that medal matters, not because white Louisville says so, not because the Olympic Committee says so, because you earned it, because you worked for it, because you deserved it. And nobody, not Robert Williamson, not the Colonial Inn, not all of Louisville, nobody can take that away from you. It doesn't feel that way. I know, right now, it feels like they took everything. Your pride, your belief, your innocence. But they didn't. They just showed you reality. Now you get to decide what you do with that knowledge. Cassius looks at her. What would you do? She smiles, sad but strong. I'd get angry, real angry. Then I'd get strategic. I'd figure out how to use that anger, how to channel it into something they can't ignore, something they can't dismiss. Something that forces them to see you on your terms, not theirs. How? By being yourself, completely, unapologetically, by refusing to play small, by refusing to be grateful for scraps, by demanding everything you deserve, and then taking it, whether they give permission or not. She stands, goes behind the counter, starts preparing food without asking what he wants. She knows. Fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens, cornbread. The same meal she's made him 100 times. She says while cooking, you know what really scares them? What? A black man who isn't afraid, who isn't ashamed, who knows his worth and refuses to diminish it for their comfort. That terrifies them, because if you're not afraid, if you're not grateful, if you're not playing by their rules, they lose control. She plates the food, sets it in front of him. So be that man. Be the one they can't control. Be the one who scares them, just by existing on his own terms. Cassius looks at the food, at Mrs. Johnson, at the medal. Something shifts in his expression. The hurt is still there, but something else is growing alongside it. Something that will eventually become the confidence, the defiance, the unapologetic greatness of Muhammad Ali. He says, they're gonna hate me. They already do. You just didn't see it before. Now you do. Now you're free. Free? Free from needing their approval. Free from believing their lies. Free to be exactly who you are. Cassius starts eating. The food tastes better than anything he would have gotten at the Colonial Inn. Not because it's better made. Because it's made with love. Because he's welcome here. Because he doesn't have to prove anything to eat it. Late that night, Cassius Clay stands on the 2nd Street Bridge. The Ohio River flowing dark beneath him. Louisville behind him. Indiana ahead. The medal in his hand. There are different versions of what happens next. Some say he threw it in the river, let it sink into the muddy water, let it disappear forever. A final rejection of what that medal represented, of what America promised and failed to deliver. Some say he lost it, that it disappeared over the years, that he never threw it away, but simply stopped caring where it was. Some say he kept it, stored it somewhere, a reminder of who he used to be, A marker of the moment, everything changed. The truth is probably complicated. The truth usually is. But the symbolism is clear, regardless. That medal, earned in Rome with blood and sweat and skill and determination, that medal that was supposed to change everything, changed nothing where it mattered most. In his own city, in his own country, in the eyes of men like Robert Williamson. What happened on that bridge, whether literal or metaphorical, was the death of Cassius Clay, the optimistic American hero, and the birth of something else. Someone else. 6 months later, Cassius Clay is training in Miami. He's turned professional, fighting in small venues, building a record, working with Angelo Dundee. The Olympic gold is forgotten. The Louisville restaurant is forgotten. He's focused on boxing now, on becoming heavyweight champion. But something is different about him. He talks more, louder, bolder. He predicts victories. He writes poetry. He calls himself the greatest before anyone else does. People are confused. This isn't how black athletes are supposed to act. You're supposed to be humble, grateful, respectable. You're supposed to let your fists do the talking. But Cassius isn't interested in supposed to anymore. He learned something in that Louisville restaurant. Learned that respectability doesn't earn respect. That accomplishment doesn't guarantee dignity. That playing by their rules means accepting their definitions. So he makes his own rules. He fights his way, hands low, dancing, fast, beautiful, effective, different from every heavyweight before him. He talks his way, confident, poetic, entertaining, impossible to ignore. He lives his way, refusing to diminish himself for anyone's comfort, and people hate it. White America hates it because he won't stay in his place. Black America is divided. Some love him. Some think he's making things worse. Some think he's embarrassing himself, embarrassing them. But he doesn't stop. February 1964, Cassius Clay defeats Sonny Liston, becomes heavyweight champion of the world. The biggest upset in boxing history. He's 22 years old, 4 years removed from the Louisville restaurant, 4 years removed from the medal and the rejection and the lesson. The day after winning the championship, he announces something. His name isn't Cassius Clay anymore. That was a slave name, given by slave owners, carried through generations of subjugation. His name is Muhammad Ali now, and Muhammad Ali doesn't ask for permission. The announcement shocks everyone, confuses everyone, angers everyone. The boxing establishment demands he change it back. The media refuses to use it. Reporters continue calling him Cassius Clay. Sportscasters call him Cassius Clay. The government calls him Cassius Clay. Muhammad Ali doesn't care. Because he learned something in Louisville. Learned that their approval is worthless. That their definitions are meaningless. That their power is an illusion maintained only through his cooperation. So he stops cooperating. April 1967. Muhammad Ali refuses to be drafted into the Vietnam War. I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong, he says. No Viet Cong ever called me nigger. The statement is explosive, controversial, career-ending. They strip his title, ban him from boxing, arrest him, convict him, threaten him with 5 years in prison, destroy his income, destroy his reputation, try to destroy him. But he doesn't break, because he learned something in Louisville, learned that America's promises are conditional, that heroism is temporary, that today's champion is tomorrow's problem if he refuses to comply. So he refuses. People ask him why. Why give up millions of dollars? Why give up the championship? Why give up everything he worked for? He says, I'm giving up nothing. I'm standing up for something. They ask, isn't he scared? He says, I'm more scared of going against my principles than going to prison. They ask, doesn't he love America? He says, I love truth more than I love comfort. And people realize something. This isn't just a boxer. This isn't just an athlete. This isn't just a controversial personality. This is someone who learned a lesson in a Louisville restaurant and internalized it so deeply, so completely, that nothing, not money, not fame, not threats, not prison, can make him forget it. Years pass. The war ends. The ban ends. Ali returns to boxing. Fights become legendary. Thrilla in Manila. Rumble in the jungle. The greatest fights in boxing history. But more importantly, he becomes something else. Symbol. Icon. Inspiration. Young Black Americans see him and realize you don't have to accept disrespect. You don't have to be grateful for scraps. You don't have to play by rules designed to keep you small. Athletes see him and realize sports can be more than entertainment, can be platform, can be power. Artists see him and realize authenticity matters more than acceptance. Everyone sees him and realizes courage is possible. Decades later, long after his boxing career ends, long after Parkinson's disease slows his speech and stills his hands, long after the controversy fades and the anger softens, and even his harshest critics admit his greatness, someone asks him about the Olympic gold medal, about Rome, about 1960, about coming home. He says, Rome was beautiful. Winning gold was beautiful. But coming home, sigh. Coming home taught me the most important lesson of my life. They ask, what lesson? He says, that you can't wait for permission to be yourself. That you can't earn dignity from people who don't want to give it. That freedom isn't something they grant you, it's something you take. They ask if he ever regrets how he handled it. The name change, the Vietnam refusal, the controversy. He says, I regret nothing. That restaurant in Louisville set me free. They meant to put me in my place. Instead, they freed me to be who I really am. Someone asks about Robert Williamson, the man from the restaurant, whether Ali ever saw him again. Ali smiles, that famous smile, says, never did, don't need to. He taught me everything I needed to know in 15 minutes. Been living that lesson ever since. Robert Williamson died in 1989. Obituary said successful businessman, community leader. Leaves behind a legacy of service to Louisville. No mention of September 1960. No mention of a young Olympic champion. No mention of the 15 minutes that changed boxing history. But the lesson remains. That's what 15 minutes created. Not just anger, not just hurt, not just the end of innocence. The birth of Muhammad Ali, the man who refused, the man who resisted, the man who chose authenticity over acceptance, the man who chose dignity over approval. All because a Louisville restaurant wouldn't serve him lunch. All because Robert Williamson told him the truth. All because the Olympic gold medal meant everything and nothing at the same time. Think about that. 15 minutes. One confrontation. One lesson. Changed the trajectory of a life. Changed the history of sports. Changed the conversation about race, religion, war, courage, identity. Because sometimes the worst moment creates the best version of yourself. Because sometimes being rejected by people you wanted to impress frees you to be yourself. Because sometimes learning that your accomplishments don't matter to them teaches you they only need to matter to you. Muhammad Ali walked into that restaurant as Cassius Clay, Olympic hero, hoping for acceptance. He walked out as someone different. Someone who would eventually refuse to accept anything less than complete authenticity, and the world changed because of it. Here's the question for you. Who have you been performing for? What approval have you been seeking? What version of yourself have you been diminishing to fit their expectations? Because 15 minutes is all it takes to realize you're playing the wrong game. 15 minutes to understand that their approval is worthless if it requires you to be less than you are. 15 minutes to decide whether you're going to spend your life being respectable or being real. Ali chose real, chose authentic, chose difficult and controversial and uncomfortable and expensive real, and became immortal because of it. What about you? Are you still wearing your version of the Olympic gold medal, hoping it earns you acceptance from people who will never truly respect you? Are you still waiting for permission to be yourself? Are you still believing that if you just achieve enough, accomplish enough, succeed enough, they'll finally see your worth? Because they won't. Not because you're not worthy, but because seeing your worth requires them to question their own. And people don't do that willingly. So the question isn't whether they'll accept you. The question is when you'll stop needing them to. When you'll take off the medal that was supposed to change everything. When you'll walk away from the restaurant that won't serve you. When you'll stop asking for a table and start building your own. That's what Ali did. Not immediately, not perfectly, not without pain. But eventually, definitively, permanently. He stopped asking Louisville to love him. He stopped asking America to accept him. He stopped waiting for Robert Williamson's world to make room for him. And he built his own world instead. A world where Muhammad Ali didn't need permission. A world where courage mattered more than comfort. A world where being yourself was worth more than being approved. And that world became bigger, more influential, more important than Robert Williamson's world ever was. That's what 15 minutes in a Louisville restaurant created. Not with violence, not with revenge, not with bitterness, with choice. The choice to be free, the choice to be himself, the choice to let rejection become liberation. And 60+ years later, we're still learning from those 15 minutes. Still learning that sometimes the people who reject you give you the greatest gift. They show you who they really are. And more importantly, they force you to decide who you're going to be. Ali decided. The question is, have you?